Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Live Mission Features. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee, and joining us on the show this week, we have three esteemed luminaries from our Mission Features team out of our Winslow, UK. Winslow, UK, Europe. I was trying to stack that up. Studio. We got Luke Presley, Gareth Bourne, and Elliot Maltby. Am I saying that right?
Yes,
I should have asked beforehand, but I got it. I'm usually terrible at pronouncing names. How you guys doing? Thank you for my.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, all good.
Now, if this is your first time ever watching Star Citizen Live, welcome to the show. This is where we go live each and every week and we discuss or showcase some aspect of Star Citizen's development. We do everything from VFX to props to one time we even had the IT guys on the show. Our Friday broadcast is our chance to do a long-form illumination on all the various aspects of video game development, generally the ones that don't get covered by most other game studios or game projects. So I'm generally really happy to have every team we possibly can on the show each and every week. And today we have a Q&A with our Mission Features team. Now, Luke, before we get into who you are and what everybody does, if you had to break down, if you had to describe what Mission Features are and what a Mission Features team does, what can you tell us?
Well, we work with usually narrative first off to kind of get a feel for locations. Like a location can be planet or even a whole solar system, and get a feel for what's going on there. And we work with that to try and figure out which gameplay suits them. Sometimes we get a mission giver come in, and so we work with them to figure out what this mission giver, like what their backstory is, what kind of missions work for those. Then we go away, we design them. Obviously, it's based on what features we have available at that moment. So, yeah, and then we actually build them, prototype them. There are many different steps in that, depending on how complex the mission is. Does it have dialogue? That kind of thing. And then we polish and test it, and watch you guys play it and learn from that.
Fair enough. I know I was just in the UK a couple weeks ago, and this happens with many developers, and you guys are no exception. You guys are watching videos and streams, to actually see how the players are interacting with the missions. We have lots of tools for feedback. We have Spectrum, we have Reddit, we have our own issue council, which is a fantastic way to submit bugs and have them validated. But that's all stuff that comes to us. We also go out and view, YouTube videos and Twitch streams, and
we have analytics as well. We can see what you're doing as well, and our tools are getting better and better at that as well. We can see things real time now.
It sounded incredibly ominous. We can see what you're doing.
We know what you're doing.
It's very useful, though. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So Gareth and Elliot, you're members of the Mission Feature team. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're working on these days.
So I'm a senior live designer, and at the moment I am working on caves. But I've done all sorts, the Pacheco mission, planet-side locations, lots of things.
Clovis's mission.
I'm usually the guy that ends up...
Mission giver man.
Yeah, I'm the mission giver man quite often, and I'm also the location man.
Giver man. No, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Elliot, how about you?
I'm new. I'm a junior live designer, and when I started here, I was given the brand new building block system that Zane was on Star Citizen Live earlier talking about, and I'm exploring sort of what that can do for our missions and setting it up. So some of the things I have done is the criminal database screen that's in Korea and the UGFs, and the com array screen, including the minimal viable product hack as well.
Gotcha.
I know what you're working on.
Oh, and currently I am prototyping and exploring other uses for screens to do with the law system.
Gotcha.
You sound a lot more polished than me. You've been practicing that?
Yeah.
Is working particularly on the fine kiosk.
Yes.
And where you go and pay off your fines rather than be charged.
Yeah.
And it taken out straight away.
So the player has the choice of if they want to pay off the fine.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So you're working. It sounds like you're working on fines. You're working on hacking stuff. Elliot, you're working on cave implementation. And Luke, what are you doing?
Everything. Managing all the things I can't talk about.
Fair enough. So to submit questions for to pose to our developers here on Star Citizen Live. You can submit your questions in one of two places, either live on the Twitch channel, as it's going on now, or on Spectrum, our communications platform on the robertspaceindustries.com website. You thought I was going to say bespoke, longtime viewers, and I stopped myself. Did you see that? People are like, he says bespoke too much. I'm trying. So when you submit your questions, please preface your question with the word question in capital letters surrounded by brackets. It's going to help our community management team pull it out from all the other conversation that's going on. Additionally, we also put up a thread on Spectrum earlier in the week to start collecting questions for folks who maybe couldn't be here live and allow folks to vote them up to see which questions they wanted to see answered most. So while questions are coming in today, we're going to start with some of those pregame questions that came in throughout the week. Right off the bat, when will we be able to share missions with people in the same party so we can all benefit from the payout? We know that's a request that players have been looking for a long time.
Straight in with a when question.
Yeah.
Okay. So good news actually on this. We had to design. It entailed some UI and some support from maybe groups and that, and we realized that it wasn't going to get done quickly enough. Obviously, we know how badly you guys want this, and we want it. Like, we've been kind of working around this in various ways, with like kind of cooperative missions and stuff. But we had our me and my coder. We looked at the design and tried to simplify it back down to what we could deliver quite quickly and easily, and we managed to get something earlier this week that was really promising. And Ed Fuller, my principal designer, he did an audit of all of our missions that he just finished today, and he came to the conclusion that it would be easy for most of them. Some of them do need some work. Like, for instance, like in the example is like race missions. So you can share this mission with everyone else. Only the mission owner can pass through the checkpoints. Otherwise, I could share this with everyone, and they could be at every single checkpoint and instantly finish the mission. So there are, like, obviously some missions have edge cases like that we have to catch, but we're like straight off the bat on Wednesday when he showed us this, we were able to share a delivery mission. Now, like, certain things straight away didn't work, but we've managed over just the course of 2 days to get that up and running. So I can't answer when exactly. I think it will be more of a kind of rolled out mission by mission as we can convert them. Yeah. But this is it's so promising. We were so happy at the start, Wednesday.
It's one of those refactors you're happy about because you want people to be able to do it.
A lot of refactors, like obviously we've got to do a refactor of our missions for server streaming and things like that. So yeah, they're great. They, apparently with server streaming on, like, it's night and day. It's like object container streaming all over again. The speed and stuff. So that's great, but it is a bunch of work we've got to do to refactor these missions. Whereas this is a refactor that really, really benefits and will make everyone happy. So I'm happy about it.
It's important to remember, and I don't know if this is always apparent or evident to everybody, that the missions and the types of missions that are available in any given patch are dependent on a whole lot of other game systems being online and working correctly and being fully implemented. Some of the questions that are going to come later on have to do with, can we have this type of mission, and can we have this type of mission, or why don't we have this type of mission? And quite often that's simply because, the missions are downstream dependent of other game features. So things like the mission sharing, it's like that when people ask, why would you have to refactor something, or why didn't you just make it this way the first time? That's part of running a game in open development, is we're working with other teams, we're working with the systems and the resources that are available to us that have been developed, that are tested and implemented at that time as we go through each patch.
Yeah, there is a danger that we could make like too many missions to actually maintain. Like, for instance, back years ago now, before 3.0 or even 2.0, we built all of our missions in flow, that came with the editor we had. Like, so all that had to go when we went into subsumption. All of those missions that like it looked like carried over were completely recreated, and some were lost, and then we've gradually built up to surpass that now. But there is a danger that you go too wide, and the moment we have to do a refactor like this, it takes forever.
Yeah, you have to develop responsibly. We don't want to put in too much stuff that we know we have to redo later down the line. So you try to thread that needle, as it were, find a good, healthy balance, so that we have new gameplay and new missions and stuff to introduce every patch, while we still limit the amount of work that we have to redo later down the line. A lot of our missions are procedurally generated, or work through the procedurally generated system. Does CIG plan to have fully handmade story missions in the PU in addition to all that PG content?
Yeah, we totally plan to. Especially when it comes to like mission givers, really making those guys stand out as special and putting that effort in there. Mission chains for them as well. Like we really want to start focusing now on almost like organizations within the game that you work for and you build up reputation with, and that reputation then turns into different missions for them. And in working for one like mission giver, you can actually accrue negative kind of reputation with another, that's opposed to it. So yes, we really do want to get into that. I believe, like, you may have a question. I've been reading through the page about like the PI wanted mission, and whether we'll have more missions like that. That's the closest I can think to a story kind of mission, and still that is quite basic. But we'd really like to take that notion of there's one big strong story arc here in this station, this abandoned station, and when you go there to do that one thing, and then on the way you find, there's also this smaller arc and this smaller arc and this, and then once that big main mission's done, you've actually unlocked a lot of more procedural missions, so that we haven't just built this entire location and set it up for one specific mission. Elliot's been looking into like what we can do to maybe take the PI wanted mission as a basis, and learn more about the building blocks and what we can do there. If you want to expand.
So we've been looking into it, and we wanted to make more of a web, so it can be sort of harder for the player, but if they use their investigating skills to the best of their ability, they'll be able to hopefully find it. We want to throw in sort of extra things like as you're doing it and you're finding information, you get contacted by someone who's saying, we need you to throw these people under the bus, and we'll pay you more than the original mission cost. So then you've got moral choices in there, and moral dilemmas and stuff, and more choices, and sort of we're looking at other ways we can sort of improve it, because right now there's data pads floating about, and we're looking at systems we can use to make it more immersive for the player, so in-world things and things like that.
Yeah, you've been looking at like email systems and using the building blocks tool, so you can actually go through and like figure things out. We can give you enough information that you can then build, like you can decide which information you actually hand in at the end. So as you said, like maybe there's someone gets in touch and says, I will pay you more money if you frame this guy, or I will pay you money if you make this guy look innocent.
You've got to find the information,
and you have all that information that you can then like move into a file before you submit, and that itself, like you can make him look innocent and just kind of hide away the stuff that proved he was guilty.
You're throwing people under the bus. I was just a turn of phrase, right, Elliot? You're not confirming busking.
Oh,
while you're
no.
in there. Just
No buses, no throwing.
Well, we have
people to
buses. We
Space
do have
bus.
buses.
We have space buses. Okay.
no. The PI wanted mission is at least from my anecdotal observation of the community, seems to be a very popular mission amongst the Star Citizen community. So I think folks will be excited to hear that we're considering that as like a basis to move forward. So like that. Gareth, you said caves. When caves do eventually come online, what type of missions are we considering for caves?
So, for caves, when they do come online, we're considering things like AI combat in a cave. Obviously, that's like a natural one. It's an easy progression. Missing persons. You can imagine someone's gone down into a cave and they've met a rather unfortunate, untimely end somewhere, and you've got to go find them.
Mining.
Can I talk about mining?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that a thing?
We
Good,
all
cool.
know, yeah, mining's in the game now.
Cool, yeah. So mining down in the cave. I just don't want to.
Harvestables is a word that we
Yes.
said.
Yes.
So
let's just
things
give the
like
caveat
that,
that these are things that we're exploring. These are things that we're looking into. Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
this is definitely this is very much in development at the moment. So things like whether the cave is inhabited or uninhabited, previously explored, currently being explored, and all of the sort of opportunities that brings with it. So
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, the gameplay is traversal and exploration in there.
yeah, they're not going to be. Think of it as like splunking. They'll be difficult, dangerous spaces, dark, mysterious. You know.
Well, we'll certainly learn more about caves as we get closer to whenever the implementation is down the line. Look to things like ISC for that. Along with caves are planetary things. One of the common things that we see that come up in chat a lot, that come up in just casual conversation, are the possibility of planetary-only missions. Right now, we've got a promotion going on for the Anvil Ballista, shameless marketing plug there. So there's a lot of focus right now on planet-side or surface-side gameplay. Folks ask often, can we have missions that require, planet-side stuff, vehicle stuff? What are our thoughts on that? It seems like it would be hard to keep people from using ships to do it anyway.
So, yeah. So interestingly, if you remember the Pacheco mission, you're given a vehicle in that.
Right.
So my current thoughts are a similar thing. Like a company wants you to retrieve X resources for them and return it in their vehicle, or some other methods that. No, don't want to use the word force, but encourage you to use a certain vehicle type.
I guess that's the danger there, because I have seen people saying, "Oh, I want to use my own ship in the Pacheco mission," which is completely understandable. Like it was a different mission when we came up with it, that it actually needed you to have a different ship there. But when it comes to, like, as you said, actually, the reason we haven't done them is because most people can just cheat and just use their ship. They're slower. The ground vehicles are slower, and and stuff. So unless we force them to use it, and we don't want it to be arbitrary, the reason.
Yeah, it's like a contextual thing.
Yeah, exactly. So when things like weather comes online, like that will force you to drive. Caves. I mean, we're making caves that have entrances big enough to take vehicles into. So, cave is a great example of why you can't take a ship in.
Yeah, it's a naturally smaller space.
Yeah,
and of course, a spaceship can't fly in a cave.
Yeah.
So it's all about the context. It's about whether we can do it in such a way that you're not questioning it and thinking, why am I?
Yeah, this is contrived.
Yeah,
it
needs to feel natural.
Or the vehicle's there at the start, and they're like, well, that's great. I'll just drive it into my ship and fly it.
Yeah, it's
across.
part of why AI works so well in the cave, because you're like, of course I can't fly my ship down here and just torpedo these guys in the face because my ship doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It's hard, in a game that wants to provide so much in the way of choice and opportunity. It's hard to then turn around and then cut so many of those choices out and say you have to just do this and use this to do it, stuff like that. So, Elliot, what ways? It could be anybody, but I'm just saying, Elliot. What ways will we have to pay off fines in the future? Do we always have to go and do it at a terminal or in person, or can we just wire transfer? Will there ever be, and we'll start with there, and then there's a follow-up.
In the current plan, so far in our sort of tier 1, I guess, we're having actual terminals you have to go to pay off these fines. I'm not sure of any plans in the future to do sort of
Wire
transfer of
transfers.
credits.
I'm sure. I know players will be able to transfer money. Well, I don't know that. I assume they'll be able to transfer money back and forth between themselves, which kind of, you asked the question, why wouldn't you also be able to do it this way? We do know we want the kiosks there, like something physical, to allow you to hack it. You know, go somewhere and be able to do something to a physical object. So, I mean, we can't speak to other features like money transfers, but it makes sense if you're able to any point wire transfer money anywhere, then it would make sense, you know, for the fines to be paid that way as well. We always want those physical things.
Yeah. So currently we are working on just having a actual terminal in world that you can go up to and pay off of, or if you don't want to pay, you can go to Korea or the UGF and just get rid of them.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point.
Throw the fine under the bus.
Yeah. We would like you to be able to like the difference between the criminal database where all your felonies are kept and the fine terminal where it's more jurisdictionally based. You pay off if you want to pay off your crimes that you've committed in Crusader. You have to go to Olisar or eventually Horizon, and same for all the others. But right now, because like security can't detect you hacking something, and there's a green zone, so no other player can do anything about it. We would like you to be able to hack these kiosks, but right now it doesn't fit. So we're just thinking about just keeping that on the current hackable terminals at Korea and such. So you can go in there, and it adds a nice little layer to that, which is, do I hack off my felonies first, or do I hack off the things that I really don't want to pay? You know,
it's definitely a choice that you have to take seriously.
Yeah. As a follow-up to the being able to transfer money between players, this is the mission feature team. That's obviously not a mission feature. That's just an overall game, life in the universe feature. Other teams are going to be working on that. And we've stated before in other places that, yes, that is a feature that we want to implement. So moving on, what happens if you don't pay fines? Are there additional penalties that can occur? What happens if you just rack up the craziest amount of fines in the world?
So we've done research into this, and I guess we've come up with a plan. So if you don't pay off fines, they go through certain stages, and if you get to the point where you've not paid it off and the government is like, you're taking the biscuit now, they'll turn into a unpaid fine felony. It's like fine neglect. You've not paid it, it's elevated, it's serious now, it becomes a felony, which obviously raises the bar more, and you can't get rid of it, and it goes on your record.
Yeah, so the states you were talking about is there's an early payment state, and then a escalated payment state, and then after that there's a certain length of time at which point so in the next release, hopefully we'll be able to pay fines off at these kiosks. It's a little later you'll be able to be arrested, fine, you know, because right now
eventually get hunted, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we've got bounty hunters, but we've got lines for the security reminding you. You know, even if they scan your ship and there's nothing on there, they'll still give you that little warning. Okay, but you've got some unpaid tickets, and then they'll fly away. Yeah, we've got lines for bounty hunters who turn up, and they give you kind of warnings. Like the first one is just a reminder. The second maybe like a shot across the bow, and next time I won't. You know, this won't be a warning. So there's the kind of idea that debt collectors will come out after you as well.
From the live chat here, what technology are you most looking forward to that will allow you to create some really interesting missions?
Jesus.
Question.
I mean, there's technology we already have that we need to just get to the point where it can be used in missions like mining and trading and things like that. So, like, I guess for me, the one thing that we don't have just yet. Oh, there's so many actually. Now I'm thinking about it. Like,
but you gotta be careful though.
melee is incredible. I can't wait to punch someone out.
Melee would be really cool.
And localized inventory, so that we can actually put finite things in our pockets.
It's not a flashy one, but I think big trade cargo journeys would be really cool. From one box to 200 boxes.
Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't get me excited about it. I just want to hit someone in the face.
Excites
But
me though.
sure.
I'm one of those people.
Just a little wistful question there. Like, yeah, it's. We often see and we hear our backers in our community talk about the things that they can't wait to come online. It's important to realize that, you know, that we're just as anxious for many of these things as you guys are. We're, you know, as our teams in 5 studios now around the world are working very hard and very diligently to bring these things online.
I should add actually that like the building block stuff is going to change missions massively. It's changing them now, and seeing that develop in this last 3 months you've been here,
it's really nice because it adds more immersion into the game, because instead of having this sort of, you go up to a terminal and this inner thought pops up and it kind of breaks the immersion that you can actually see a physical button and interact with it.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like the hacking used to be that you walk up to a screen that had a texture on it and you pressed F and some words came up over it and the texture changed. Simple as that. Now, like, as you know, we've only taken it one step forward, but that step's a huge leap. That you can now select any button on there, and I hope everyone can kind of see that, like, even though it's the first step, just being able to make a mini game on a screen is going to be
and the system's still developing, so all the time I'm getting new tools to play about with, and that gets me really excited.
Yeah, for those of you, this is your first time hearing about the building blocks. We talked about the building blocks with Simon and Zane on this show about 2 weeks ago, and we have a segment with visuals, and you can see more about how that works and how that helps our developers coming up in ISC in 2 or 3 weeks, depending on a couple different factors. So we'll be hearing much more about the building blocks. They're really cool. It's we don't just develop things for you guys; we develop things for us to use to develop other things for you guys. And building blocks are an important step in our development that'll make a lot of things more interesting and easier to do. Let's see. There's the PI wanted question. We'll skip that since we talked about that earlier. Gareth, what are the challenges involved in creating missions for caves? Like finding people in outer space and on the surface is relatively easy, but with caves, like, I can imagine you go to a waypoint and then you just hit solid ground and it's like, what? Because they're deep inside a cage. In a cave, what are the challenges involved here, and what are we doing to work with them?
Challenges involved. So I think it comes back around to context again. So if you have AI in a cave, you need to make sure they're not in a place with, I don't know, a bunch of crates where you're like, I just crawled through a tiny hole. How did this guy get his crates in this room? Because obviously they're procedurally well, I say obviously, but they will be procedurally generated. So it's making sure that the nature of the connected rooms has an overall context and a flow that makes sense when you're in that space. And things like finding a missing person, we need to make sure that, like, he's in a pit, but he's not in a pit at the start of the cave. Well, he could be, but he might be in the pit at the very end of the cave as well. So there's lots of, like, different places they can be. Or if he's just dead on the floor, he's not dead on the floor in the entrance. It's like making sure that all of these places that can be connected together and form this space have, like, an overarching context. So if the cave has got AI in it, you don't necessarily want a crawl space at the front, or you don't want a traversal space where they're spawned, because it would be funky stuff would happen at the moment. Because and stuff like that. It's sort of like making sure that the space that's procedurally generated fits the context of the mission.
And when it comes to things like markers, we always have to be careful anyway. Like, I mean, putting a marker on, we wouldn't usually put the marker on the missing person or whatever, because that gives it away, and you get that problem you mentioned where you're like, I'm staring at a floor here, how do I get underground? Where you probably end up putting it on the hole, to guide that. But then again, the entrance to the cave. But then again, maybe that's half of the fun. We have to figure out. To figure out for ourselves, actually finding the holes a pain in the backside or something.
Well, actually, this is really cool. And there's and obviously they're quite naturally dark spaces, so there's a lot of challenge in making sure that the space is readable, in that you can understand where it is you're going to go. Because obviously, imagine if you're walking through a cave, you turn into a cavern that doesn't have any natural light source, and you're like, what even is this space? And making sure there's not a hole immediately there, so you've not even had a chance to turn your torch on. You're just instantly tripped up by the fact it's dark. And
that we don't spawn box missions when you can't carry a box out.
Yeah, making sure you can get out.
It's great, to be challenging and have people have to throw the box to be able to climb up. But if you actually make because of procedural way we build them, if you've made you have to crawl in, then there's no way you can get that box out. Yeah,
it's kind of like level design challenges in a way.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons we use procedural generation as a tool to help us and not the end game, like some other games. Here's a question from the live chat. What are our thoughts about PvP missions?
They're great.
We love them.
Yeah. I mean, especially now, because our AI is developing, it's really nice to be able to pit players against each other. I don't think we do a good enough job of saying this is a PvP mission. So
they're good as an option, but we need to make sure they're not.
We need to make sure that people aren't lulled into, thinking that this is a PvE mission and get attacked by a player. But that's the game. That is the game. You can get attacked for no reason, nothing to do with the mission. It was just you were there at the wrong time. But we build missions in a way that bring players together. That can lead to PvP. We don't always pit players against each other. I always give the space wreckage or the derelicts on the ground as an example, in that those missions have those locations have about 7 missions on them. Only 2 of them actually conflict. But when you meet another player, there's that instant kind of distrust. Everyone kind of freeze, and they're like, is this an AI? No, he seems to have frozen.
No one ever just walks over this will be fine.
It's we can't. There's no way we can prevent PvP, and when we encourage it, we should do so in a fashion that players are aware that that's a risk. But we do. There's plenty of missions we've made that pit players against each other. The Clovis one, I think maybe the Clovis one just doesn't seem to appear as often as we'd like, and we need to look into that one. It was a very kind of vague question, but we like them. We're not avoiding them. Yeah. We're not relying on them too heavily. We tend to do a 1 PvP mission and a PvE mission and a 1 PvE, so we kind of keep it balanced.
Yeah. And when we say we can't prevent PvP, we're saying with 100% certainty and stuff. We have things like the law system, and then different star systems will have different levels of criminality and jurisdiction and stuff. There are systems coming online now, being developed and coming online that will discourage piratical actions and stuff like that. But somebody who's determined to do this will just have to face the consequences when they do it. Mm-hmm. That's the basis of the law system. All right. Hey, Elliot, what's your vision for the future of hacking gameplay? And really anybody. I said Elliot again, but Elliot.
So we obviously put in the hacking as a basis because, again, the tool was brand new and it's being developed, and we're kind of testing the waters with what we can do and how we can utilize it.
That's for building blocks,
That's for the building blocks, yeah. So after that, obviously there was a lot of feedback on Spectrum and Reddit about it that we sorted through and read. Me and Ed Fuller have both been working on sort of ideas and prototypes of what we'd like to do, but we'd like to have it in a way that for the people who didn't really want to engage in it, it can be easy for them, and sort of,
there'll be certain things that are easy to hack, but it's because we designed them to be easy to hack.
But then people who actually want to make, say, hacking a career of theirs, we wanted to give it some sort of depth to the point where they could actually make a career and sort of enjoy it a lot and be, communicating with people like, yo, I can hack this for you, and stuff like that.
Easy to learn, difficult to master kind of thing.
Exactly.
And, even to the point where we are trying with the intent is to try and build something that is or could be PvP. So you could have, someone hacking and someone kind of trying to prevent the hack.
You're both hacking each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
setting up traps.
Yes.
That alert you to the hack, and then you can get in there and with your double keyboard typing.
Yeah.
And
2 people on 1 keyboard.
So, we're trying to go deep with it, while at the same time, obviously, keeping it so that when we just want you to get through a door, and we want everyone to be able to get through that door, that they can either pay and get a chip to basically do it for them. Like what the chips we've introduced now may eventually just be kind of relegated to, this is like buy your way out of it, because I'm no good at the hacking, I never get it or whatever. Whereas people who put the time in can just become fantastic at master it.
I need someone to hack for me.
Please help.
What are our thoughts about adding alternative rewards, like stuff that's like not always AUEC, but unique items or reputation or anything else?
We definitely want to do it. It's these things rely on other features that aren't in existence just yet or are being worked on actually. Like for instance, unique items. You need to be able to like store those somewhere. Properly persistent habs where where you can own and decorate and things like that. What was the other one? Reputation. So, as I was saying before, you'll when we focus more on the in-game kind of organizations, companies that you work for, you'll be both going up and down in reputation for those, unlocking new missions. What else could we do?
Naturally ties into receiving items related to them.
Yeah. We're desperate. Like we've been wanting to do kind of missions that give you uniforms and kind of allow you to have ships. It's what we try to do. Again, it's only a prototype. What's in the Pacheco mission now that gives you the cutlass, because what we need to be able to tie it into is the actual system that players use right now to let players, party members, open doors and stuff. Because you'll find in that mission that literally only the person who has the mission is able to fly that ship, as we found out actually in our live playthrough with Detox there. But he couldn't let anyone else fly it, and he didn't have his stick set up, so there was a bit of an issue there. But it's because it's not using the actual system that is in our game. But that system needed to be opened up to us to allow us to do it.
Detox helped us on a Star Citizen Live playthrough of the Pacheco mission maybe 3 months ago.
Helped us.
We haven't forgotten you didn't bring your HOTAS, Detox. You just brought it up again. You haven't forgotten. We love Detox. They're just giving him some good-natured crap. Will there ever be mission givers that can only be found in the bowels of a cave?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the bowels of a space whale. Why not?
Moby
Definitely.
Dick in space.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'd love to have that.
I mean, who's to say it'll be like a full blown mission giver? Like, but we want these, kind of side mission givers. And-
Secondary mission givers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. People who live there, people exploring.
Yeah,
people-
crazy hermit.
Crazy hermit, archaeologist.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned the lore team before. How closely do you work with the lore team to provide to develop these missions?
Every day. This is why I get in at like 10 and leave at 7, because obviously they're in LA, and we have as much crossover as possible, because it's very rare we have a week where we don't speak to them. Like, that's super rare. It's a day even,
We had a
and
meeting every day.
when it comes to this part, obviously we've been putting out a release. No one plays it like they do. Like we come into like screenshots of like this text is wrong, this is wrong. Like, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we found that stuff that basically like QA would never figure out, because they know how it's been written, and like we'd use a lot of procedural text, so there'll be a blank, and a blank, and we have to hook it up to the right thing, and we may have done it in the wrong order or something like that, but it's stuff that no one else would ever catch.
It's really hard to catch things in development in that way.
Yeah, we're never out of contact with them.
In the future, will missions be capable of having multiple paths to proceed with different monetary compensation for each individual path, or not just monetary, but different compensation in general for each different path?
Yeah,
That goes back to Elliot's mentioning of the PI wanted and the branching.
PI wanted, but yeah, also like, you did say someone kind of calling halfway through, or you uncovering something halfway through that changes how you want to do it. You realize, you go into this thinking you're being altruistic, and realize that actually, these people are innocent. I shouldn't be gassing or doing something to this.
Whatever it is.
I go in to turn the power off at this place. It's quite simple, but all these people will die if I do it. It changes the story. I've always been, I worked on Fable, so I'm all about like the kind of good and evil choices within a single mission.
Don't eat tofu.
Yeah, exactly.
Or eat chickens.
Eat little chicks. We definitely do want to do that. That's a more complex mission than we have currently. Going back to the start, that's because what we're trying to build right now is more like the ingredients to a mission. You'll notice our missions aren't super complex. Not at present, no. Like, that's because we tend to build the objective first. When we get a new feature, for instance, we build an objective around that, and then that can be tied together into like a whole mission. You string objectives together, you get a whole mission. Sorry, I read another question on there that we may or may not get to, but it was
cheating.
I've actually just forgot what it was.
Yes, we
Thanks,
want
Jared.
branching missions.
Yes, we want
Definitely,
branching
yes.
missions. Yeah.
We want branching missions. You were talking about how we build the objectives first. We build the objectives.
Oh, sorry. Wasn't there a question about how like players build in their own missions or something?
Yes, it's the very next one on the list.
Amazing.
Good segue.
In the past, it was discussed that players would someday be able to generate missions. Is that still the intent? I'm not even
totally.
needed for it. You just do the show. I'm going to go over here.
Off you go. We really want to allow players to do that, and it's because this is the way we're building. As I said before, like we build in objectives, so that a really simple example is the delivery missions. So a delivery mission is super simple: pick up a box, drop off a box.
Behind the scenes, though.
Yeah, behind the scenes, it's not that simple. Yeah, but it's not one mission. It's two objectives: pick up, drop off. And we've built those separately. So, for an example, in a mission where you steal a box, you like first there is a go kill this person maybe, or whatever on the front. For now, anyway, we'll go into that. But you do something first, and then at the end there is the drop-off part of a delivery mission, and we just stitch those together. It's the same part, and we could allow players to take our objectives, stitch them together into hopefully a coherent mission.
Like mission Lego.
Like mission Lego, exactly. And all you have to do then is say, what is the thing that you would like picking up and dropping off? I mean, we do it with the service beacons currently. Like, it's just a lot more straightforward for because it's like pick up me.
Yeah.
And we always know where you are. Whereas if it's a box, it could be any box. It could be anywhere. And and then what we do is we expose to that system like every location, that's available. That's an interesting one actually. That specific example, like we don't expose currently places like that are illegal and secret and hidden, but you may want something delivered there. So would you get a marker to it or not? No, you shouldn't really. You should have to have learned where that is.
Figured it out.
Yeah, exactly before going there. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it's basically we have all these types of missions that you can build together. Hopefully.
I'm asking my own questions to myself here. Sorry. Next.
All right.
Oh, Jack's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
For that, I was skipping this one because it comes every show you do, but now you get it. Where's Tessa?
Where's Tessa? Right.
Oh.
She's on perforce waiting to be added back into the game. We've got a whole load of new lines we got recorded for her, but I'm kind of holding out on putting her back into the game until she gets something worthy of right now we don't have science missions, we don't have scanning missions, and those are the missions she's made for. And I don't want to brought back just for more, combat missions or delivery missions or anything like that. She just deserves better, honestly.
All right. Next question. Where's Tessa?
Wow.
In the cloud. she's on the repository.
Shirley, you don't want to see what Twitch chat has been like for the last 45 minutes. Any plans to add additional shipwrecks or for investigation missions?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we're given them, we'll use them. It's not as straightforward as I've had this discussion a lot. Like when the ships break up now, they aren't actually like the wrecks that you're walking around. They have to put a lot more effort into making the wrecks that you guys are walking around crashed on the ground than just the ones that visually kind of break up in front of you. There's a lot of collision issues and stuff that you wouldn't see because they're just able to break these things apart. That they then have to do a lot of work to make them so you can navigate them, and that they hold up when you get that close. So and our ships are just getting bigger and bigger, and I'll only ever ask for the biggest ship. I don't care about the Hornet. I mean, I can't do anything in that.
Can't navigate it,
so get me a reclaimer and
get me a javelin.
The moment I saw the 890 jump, I was like, that'll look good destroyed. Yeah. So yeah. It's a lot of work for those guys, and obviously they're making the ships, and these ships are just getting bigger and more complex anyway. So
it's a big process.
Yeah, I mean, when I asked when I was in the UK, I asked the ship team there how many rooms were in the 890 jump, and they all just kind of looked at me and were like, "I don't think we've counted." So Adam Parker went through and counted for him, and he came back. He's like, "It has 68 rooms in it," and everybody was like, it was funny. It was one of those things that we discovered on our own because of a random question I asked. So there's lots of opportunities for an 890 jump shipwreck.
I will give a little bit of a tidbit though. It's we are looking into getting FPS combat within Starfarer wreckage now, and the 890 jump has a whole mission within it that we've made to a decent prototype level.
We're iterating upon that kind of foundation of the existing ones.
Yeah, like it's big enough to have an entire mission in it. It's insane. Yeah.
Another question about caves. Will we encounter random NPCs in caves? And if so, will they always be hostile, or can we discover other types of NPCs like archaeologists or geologists or something like that?
I think for the first time you see them, there will be hostile NPCs. But for the future, we definitely want, like, I think I sort of alluded to it earlier, like inhabited caves and caves in exploration. So they would definitely be filled with NPCs of whatever type or class suits those. But first iteration, I'm thinking going for the hostile.
Yeah, I think you just have to realize that we obviously record dialogue for all these guys, and it's fair enough to do that for like a set for enemies, because they only say so many things. They have their set that they yell at you, whereas NPCs they say different things. If it's an archaeologist, he's going to say something different too.
They have different sets of animations, behaviors.
Exactly, and we're still in development. We don't want to go like too far down a path that involves like actors and cleaning up the mocap and all of that at this point in the game, in the development of the game.
Solid first.
Yeah.
You talked about mission objectives and stuff, starting with objectives. One of the questions from the live chat is asking about mining missions, or rather missions that are specific to the type of profession ship that you would pilot.
Yeah. It goes back to, I think, something I mentioned previously, which is though these mechanics exist, they aren't actually accessible to the missions just now. So
they don't have the right the hooks.
The hooks and even things like a simple mining mission you could possibly take from the kiosks, for instance. So there's like buy, sell, and then there's another tab on there maybe that has missions like I need X amount of gold within 10 minutes. Well, 10 minutes is not enough, but a time. And you are left to your own devices to figure out where to get this gold from. And players who have scanned and mined enough may know this and be like, I'm going there, and others, I have no idea. So maybe you have there are easier missions that actually take you to a location, and then we spawn this, that, and the other. But again, that's stuff that we don't
those
currently
hooks are
have.
are those in your inventory? Are they the right type?
Yeah.
Can you deposit those?
And the same goes for and how do you deposit it, I guess. But the same goes for trading as well. Like that would have to be on a console somewhere as well. But like one of the things holding us back is like these trading consoles were built before building blocks, so they're not easy. It's not something that designers can get into and start changing. Now the plan is that they eventually, all get remade in building blocks, and then we can take some of that pressure off the UI team. And because what they would do is, Elliot's been working with the UI team a lot. What he does is build a wireframe model, ugly, really bad. No one would want to see it.
Oh, it's pretty.
But it works,
Yeah,
it
it works.
And that's the important thing.
And
You don't need to make it look
gives,
pretty.
Like the UI artist kind of, this is kind of how he wants to play it, how it wants it laid out, and like this is the idea of how he wants the player to use it, and then they'll go in and they'll make it look pretty, and it honestly just makes my
you
stuff
can
look
essentially
terrible.
like white box it.
Yeah, I
It
just
gives
white
you-
box it,
gives
make
you
it
power
usable,
tools.
make sure it can be tested, and then just reskin it and make it look pretty to the point where it's.
So hopefully, like in the future, all these things where there's a sticking point because it's UI and UI are like overworked. They have so many other things like on their schedule that just a little like mission thing sometimes we ask for is it's too much for them to do in the time. But we are now free to kind of do it ourselves. They're providing styles, so they build this whole Like, I guess it's like building a website, kind of thing. They build the style, and then every box you make looks in that style afterwards. So
it's like main pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously we've done a lot of talking about building blocks. The designers are very excited about this new feature coming online from the UI tech team. Like I said, we'll be covering it in more detail in about 2 or 3 weeks on ISC, so you'll get to see what these guys have been working with and why it's going to, quite frankly, it's not hyperbole to say revolutionize the way that designers get to implement their missions, implement their ship UIs, implement their kiosk UIs, everything. It's going to take a lot of strain off of the UI team and allow designers at all levels on all teams to push forward with a lot of features that everybody's been waiting for. So it's an exciting time. Look for that in coming weeks. Let's see. We're almost out of time. Will we be able to hack the anti-air defensive towers on bunkers? These people don't want to be shot.
Probably. I mean, eventually. The place we want to do it first is the commorays. Like, whether it's just kind of create a hole in their defenses so that they have a blind spot to you and maybe your party members, or that you can turn them completely like against for security, their allies. But I'd imagine that's going to be one of the first places we do it. But there's, going into the underground facility, having bypassed them somehow and turn them the other way, or just make them oblivious to you, is, it's the same thing.
It's
really.
feasible.
Yeah. It sounds cool.
Sure. And finally, before we let you go, I know it's Friday. It's late on a Friday. It's the weekend. You guys have put your time in. You're ready to go home. In the simplest form, a lot of them, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of the missions are kind of unreliable right now. A lot of folks are have trouble completing missions. We see comments in the chat about how I've only ever completed the Pacheco mission and stuff like that. What can we offer to people about the current instability that's involved in missions?
Alpha.
Yeah, a mission. I think obviously people have to understand that a mission is, at its core, very simple. Like, again, with a delivery mission, it's pick up a box, drop it off. But then in between that pick up and drop off is the game, the whole game. So if any portion of that game doesn't work at that time, that mission might not work. It might be entirely blocked, or it might be that it's just more of a pain. Obviously, like some of the examples are like boxes disappearing or falling through things. Like, that's not the mission's fault. Yeah, that's not the mission's fault. That's, well, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea why a box would fall through.
I like to think of designers as like at the end of the funnel, trying to piece everything together to make something cohesive. But any single part could fall apart on you, and it's easy to make that look like the mission. Like, you might think, oh, now the mission's broken, but sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't have any power over that happening.
Yeah. So, we're a small part of it. Obviously, you accept a mission, and if you can't complete that, it's like, the mission's bust. But it could be anything
as well.
Sometimes
it is just
it could be the mission.
Now, that said, teams, all these teams are working very diligently to resolve these bugs, resolve these issues. 361 is currently on the PTU in open testing. The first thing I noticed with regards to Garrett's stuff about the boxes, I picked up a box and I dropped the box, and for the first time the box didn't slide along the floor. I haven't seen that in a while, so we are making progress on that. Teams all around the world are working on that stuff. So as the game becomes more stable and as features become more fully fleshed out and more developed, then the wonderful consequence of that is that the missions will begin to function better, and people will have more success in completing them and such. So.
Yeah, exactly. And the more reliable they become, the more confident in pushing the boat out, kind of thing, pushing the envelope. that we'll get with that as well.
So the natural course of things.
Yeah.
So everybody remember, you can do your part, get into the PTU, help us test, use the Issue Council. Issue Council is an amazing tool where you can help us track down bugs, verify bugs, get them escalated in priority through the number of reports and stuff like that. We are in development together on this, so we all want a stable and fun gameplay experience for Star Citizen. So,
and we read those.
Yeah, we do read those.
We do read those.
Yep. All right, Luke, Gareth, Elliot, thank you for your time here on the show today. I know I always feel kind of guilty asking people to stay late on a Friday, but I think
Jared,
if I
not too bad.
If I can speak,
if
I can speak for the folks watching, I think they really enjoyed the show today. So thank you so much for the candidness of your answers. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Star Citizen Live. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. For the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42, you can subscribe to our channel, or you can check out some of the other shows, and you can also head to our website at www.robertsspaceindustries.com. Thank you very much for watching.